Hey everyone, welcome back to the Kuderna podcast. I'm Bryan Kuderna. On today's episode, I'll be joined by Bas Rutten. Many of you probably already know who Bas is. He's a UFC Hall of Famer and former heavyweight champion of the world. He ended his career with 22 straight victories, something very few fighters can stake a claim to. In addition to his MMA career, Bas is also a TV personality, an actor, having starred in several movies, most notably alongside Kevin James in Here Comes the Boom. He's also a video game star, which anyone who recalls Grand Theft Auto will certainly remember. And he's also a businessman and an inventor, which we'll talk about in today's conversation. Hailing from Holland, Bas was named by Inside MMA as the fourth greatest MMA fighter of all time. He certainly is a Renaissance man living out the American dream. But Bas's current passion revolves around helping people beat asthma. Many of you may not know this, that as a world-class professional athlete, before all the stardom, Bas had a real struggle with asthma. But now he's came up with a device and a strategy for people to get on the offensive against asthma and take control of their well-being. Today's episode is brought to you by my brand new book called What Should I Do With My Money? Economic Insights to Build Wealth Amid Chaos. Anyone who's read the book will know that there's four motives I talk about that are defined as mice: money, ideology, compromise, and ego. I'll talk with Bas about his take on those four motives and how they've guided him in his pursuit of wealth. And remember, we always define wealth on this show in its original meaning, a state of well-being. Without further ado, here's the champ, Bas Rutten.
Is going to require work and time and sweat and toil.
If money wasn't an issue, what would I be doing?
Don't worry about it. You'll figure it out.
Change is the only constant.
The Kuderna Podcast.
Boom. Thank you, Bryan.
Yeah, we're happy to have you, man. So you were just telling me earlier that you came over to the States in 1997. So, before you hit stardom, perhaps here in America, what was going through your mind on that trip over here?
I made drawings of America when I was 6 years old. I still have the drawings. Nogi was a bird, Nogi, and he would fly to America, and I had these big pickup trucks, Buicks. I always had American cars. I was just mesmerized with America. I just loved it. So then, when I started fighting in Japan, and then eventually I started beating UFC champions over in Japan. So then the matchmaker from the UFC came to Japan to watch me fight. And after a fight, he said if I was interested to go to the UFC, like, sure, I got 3 more fights under this contract. Let me wrap it up, which is fast because I fought a lot. Like, people don't understand. Now they fight 2-3 times a year. I fought my first year 8 fights. My second year 9 fights. We were going. If I wasn't injured, I said, sign me up. Let me fight again because it's money, right? You make. So those 3 fights that were gone within 5-6 months. And then it was 1997. I moved to America to pursue the American dream and fight in the UFC. Yep.
That's awesome. And did you view it at that time as like a business trip, or were you ready to say, America's going to be home?
America's going to be home. I never thought I was going to come back. I had a lot of people doubting in Holland, and I go, it's okay. You can doubt. I said, but there's only one way to find out, and it's for me to go there and see if I can succeed. And if I can succeed, I can always come back, but I think it will be okay. And which is, America is it's really the land of opportunities. For every dollar I make over in Europe, I make 10 for the same job. I make 10 here, so really? We go like, well, it's a lot of taxes there, it's a whole different system. So yes, I was very happy to move to America.
Yeah, I bet. That's awesome. And so if we just kind of go back to the genesis of all this, I had read that your MMA journey began with sneaking into a Bruce Lee film. I think it was Enter the Dragon. Can you tell us a little bit about that? Is that where it all started for you?
Yeah, it was. I was this kid. I had a horrible skin disease. I was the leper in school. That's what they called me. And needless to say, I got bullied a lot. So I spent my time in the forest. I was swinging treetops to treetops. We had a forest very close to my home, like literally 100 yards away. And it was very good for me because I could climb a tree. If the bullies would start chasing me, and I would wait till they climb up, and I started swinging to the other tree, and those kids couldn't do it. And there were like only 4 or 5 places in the whole forest where I had to go down where it was too much of a gap. But, if I was in a certain spot, I could go 20, 25 trees, so good luck in trying to catch me. So I think that's where my athleticism comes from, because I was always doing that. I was also playing track and field at a high level.
Yeah.
But the bullying, and then when I saw the movie Bruce Lee, Enter the Dragon, I realized, wait a minute, if I'm like that guy, I can handle the bullies, so why wouldn't I see if my parents allowed me to do martial arts? And it took me 2 years to convince them, because they thought it was violence.
Yeah.
They're very conservative, my parents. And but then after 2 years, they finally they bent and they said go, because they kept asking.
Yeah.
And I was fortunate to be taken under the wing by an adult who was dating my neighbor girl. She was a very beautiful girl, 2 girls there actually. And he was the cool guy in town. Xavier was his name. And he took me to the adult classes. And from that moment, everything went really fast. I started beating adults within months. And then I overheard these guys talking about me in the dressing room. So now I start getting confidence. And that led to my very first street fight with the biggest bully in my school.
Oh, jeez.
And I knocked
How
him
old
out
were you
once.
when all this was happening? How old were you?
Well, I was 14.
Yeah. Okay. So just coming
14
into the teen years.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Shouting at me on the bicycles passing me on the street, hey, leper or something. And this time I shouted something back, and I heard them laugh, and I looked, and sure enough, they started to chase me. And I go, you know what? I'm not going to do this anymore. So I put my bike on the stand, and I was just waiting for them. And they surrounded me with their bikes, they're little kids. And he came to the center, and told me to hit him. So I did. And I found out that bullies were not that strong. It was one punch. Problem was his nose was broke. So the police showed up at the doorstep a moment. That confirming, of course, for them, it was violence.
Yeah.
But this is the same thing. I always have to tell this. Like, I never told my mom and dad I was bullied, because my mom had an enormous amount of work with me. She had to, we call it mummifying. Every night, the whole family would send in old bed sheets. They would rip up to bandages, and I would creams, and then I would rip it up in the middle of the night because it would itch so bad. I had a big stone next to my bed, and I was hitting constantly because the itching is so insane. It was better to hurt yourself, but still it would come off. She had to redo it again. So my mom had a lot of work with me, and I figured if I'm going to tell her I'm bullied, it's going to really hurt her. So that's why I never said anything, because if my dad would have known, I'm pretty sure he would have said, no, we got to keep him on martial arts. But unfortunately, that was not the case.
What was that? I mean, was that like eczema, or what, if you don't mind?
Eczema,
what was?
It was really weird, because it was when I came out of the womb, I was completely covered, and then it disappeared within like weeks. And then we moved from a big city to a smaller town in Holland. And boom, it came back with a vengeance, man. And that together combined, that happens a lot with asthma. So I have severe asthma. Every 5 weeks, a week in bed, not able to eat because I couldn't breathe. And then eczema. So when the eczema was really bad, my asthma was good. And my asthma was really bad, my eczema would be good. It's the other way around. So really bad asthma means less eczema, and the other way around.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, that's crazy. And now, like that incident that you mentioned with the bully, how long did that stick with you? And the reason that I'm asking, it's ironically, I just watched a documentary on Herschel Walker, famous football player. And that's how it began. He said, he was bullied as a kid for the way he looked, the way that he talked. And so the way that he responded to that was, well, I'm just going to do push-ups and sit-ups all day, every day until I'm ready. And then that kind of stuck with him through his whole career. Did you have kind of a similar instance, or did you then just move on to loving MMA?
Oh yeah, no, it was right away. At first, by the way, Herschel, I interviewed him a few times. Amazing guy. What an athlete, man. I mean,
it's incredible. Yeah.
And never touched the weight, all the push-ups. And if you look at the guy, I mean, he was fighting when he was like 50 years old, MMA.
That's right. That's right. Yeah.
2 or 3 matches, and he all won them, So and with me, it was the same thing. With me, it was like I knocked him out. But, over the years, a lot of kids have been bullying me. So now I needed to go after those guys, right?
Yeah.
Because now I realized, wait a minute, it's actually pretty easy for me. And people got scared. And I had a list with all the names of all the bullies, and I checked each and every one off. I went after everybody. I always tell people, I say, don't mess with the bullies, man, because there's some guys out there like me. They will put you, or worse, now you have shootings.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, unfortunately.
And it's horrible because, listen, you push a kid to the brink, it's a very scary. There was a moment in my that I was at school, and these kids were messing with me, and I guess I saw a Tarzan movie or something. My school was literally like 150 yards away from my home, and there were trees in the schoolyard. And I grabbed a branch and I wanted to swing and stomp him in his chest like you see in the movies. Well, it doesn't work like that. The branch broke. I fell on the ground, and everybody's standing around me laughing. And that was like after years of bullying. And I ran home, and I remember grabbing a kitchen knife, and I ran back to school. And my mother, she saw me running with a knife, and she started to chase me, and she stopped me. And till this day, I don't know what I would have done, but I lost it. I mean, I was ready to, so I might have, I don't know what I would have, but I can understand, it's never good, violence. I understand that. It's really bad. But if you, as a kid, have that on a daily basis, constantly, it does something to you. Listen, there's things that people cannot say to me right now that come back all the way from when I was a kid. You would think at 58, you know how to deal with these things, but there you can see how words make an impact on a person. And that just stays with you for the rest of your life. The good thing is that I never used, because of my fighting skills, I never used it bad. Since I was bullied, I was just using it for protection for me, but also for every other kid that got bullied. Guess who took care of that problem? That was me as well. So yeah, I became the bully guy, beat up the bullies.
I mean, and the thing that you brought up about what's going on today, where unfortunately so many kids handle it where they go to the extreme, like you said, now with guns, and it's just crazy. I mean, I remember when I was a kid, and I can remember when Columbine, for instance, happened. It just it stopped the world in its tracks. You just couldn't even believe something like that happened. And nowadays it seems like you hear that almost every other week on the news, and you just flip the channel. It's not like that big a deal. Why do you think maybe that is, that these kids, don't maybe have another outlet or another way to handle the situation other than going to the nth degree to that level of, violence?
It's emotions, it's you get pushed to a certain way. You don't know what you look at politics right now. It makes no sense. Yeah. People are pushing their family members out because they have a different political view. That's their family members. So they don't give a crap about other people. This is how we are right now. It's so easy to just keep swiping or doing things. Everything is non-people nowadays. Everything is on the phone. You start dating on the phone, break up on the phone. I mean, everything is done on the phone. You have a fight with somebody's screaming. They don't even look at you. I had these guys. They're screaming, but they don't make eye contact because they're only used to doing it on the computer. That is a safe environment. And then suddenly they're looking away and they're screaming. I go, dude, look at me. What do you think I'm going to hit you? I'm not going to hit you. You can just talk to me. Just relax. And even worse is this girl, 2 weeks ago, killed herself. So it's go the other way around as well. It's either they do something to the bullies, or they do something to hurt themselves, and then they leave their families devastated. So this is something that needs to stop, and the kids simply don't have that. If I wouldn't have been bullied, I probably wouldn't have known either. But going through that is something that you don't wish on anybody. It's the worst thing there is. So yeah, it's sad. I hope it's going to stop, because somehow they believe it's cool, but it's it's the opposite, right? I mean, you're the most pathetic little person on the planet, and especially if you gang up also, and then pick out the weak people. They don't go after the strong ones. And with me, by the way, they never wanted to fight me. There was words, because I was an athlete. I've always been a good athlete. I mean, in school, when nobody picked me up, but PE, if we did dodgeball, I was the first guy they picked, because I would throw a hole through you. Because if the goalie was a bully, I didn't even try to score. I just tried to hit him as hard as I could. People used to keep diving. Oh yeah, I would go.
That's one way of doing it. Yeah.
So.
Yeah, that's such a complex issue, and it's that could be a whole nother episode in and of itself. I don't know what the solution is there to get people where they're mentally and emotionally able to handle that difficult situation, but then also, of course, to get to stop the bullying, which is as old as mankind. I mean, that's always been here.
Yeah, but you have to stress the fight or flight, the whole that situation. It freezes kids up, and they don't think straight anymore. And they don't think there is an answer. There's always an answer. But if your mind is polluted by emotions, there's you can't find an answer. So if they stay calm and relax, and that's why martial arts, believe it or not, once you have a power, but you can control that power, you become so much more calm, because I can do something if I want. I mean, I would always warn them later when I grew up. Okay, don't do this, dude. You're making a huge mistake. You're going to lose this. What, do you think you can beat me? No, I know I can beat you. I don't think. It's what I do all freaking day long against other professionals. Chances you're going to win is nothing. And sucker punch. Well, you got to be really good with that because, dude, I've been hit with a baseball bat. I've been hit with a Coca-Cola bottle. I've been never knocked out, never. So I didn't even have an 8 count in my life. So it's like almost like a Samoan guy. They way worse. I have a few buddies of mine are Samoan. They get hit with a baseball bat in the head that breaks. It's like whatever. They have to beat your skull also. So yeah, watch out.
Yeah. And so now just kind of going back to, what we were talking about, you get into MMA and you're at first it's just a way to build your confidence and be able to handle these bullies that are picking on you. When was your first professional fight? Like when did this actually go from self-defense to being a job?
At 21, I left the house, my mom and dad. So first of all, I was 14. They took me off martial arts right away. Then when I was 20 or 21, I left the house. Immediately, I started doing martial arts. Now, don't get me wrong. In between, I would go to the libraries. I would have videotapes. I would watch fights. I would watch things and I would imitate. I was always really good with what I see. Most of the time I can do. And I'm a freaking guy. If I don't know it now, I know it in an hour. And if I don't know it now, it's going to be 2 hours or tomorrow. But I will do anything in my power to know what I need to know as fast as I can. So I can be obsessed. I spent 4 hours in front of a mirror one time after I got stopped my first Thai boxing class because my hands were low. And 4 hours in front of a mirror, I was just doing this. And my ex at the time goes like, "You're insane." I said, "No, this will not happen anymore." And the next day I went back to the gym, cleaned 85% of the gym out. They thought I was joking with them, that I already knew how to box. I go, "No, I spent 3.5, 4 hours in front of a mirror yesterday because that was not going to happen anymore." But that's how I attack my problems. I just go full in and try to fix it immediately.
Yeah, and just stick at it till it's fixed. So then you were about 21 years old, and that's when you got your first pro bout, or was that like
no, that was just still
option?
beginning. Yeah. So there's this whole thing. How do I explain this? We call it dojo fighters.
Okay.
That means those guys are really good in the gym, but once they are under pressure, they can't handle the pressure, and then it doesn't come out what they can really do. They lock up, or they, and I was one of those guys. Now with me, it was not a problem because I was just physically very strong and I just knocked everybody out. Yeah. But if I would have faced a really good guy, I probably wouldn't have gone to the 3rd round because I would just completely no control, just blasting people away. But it all again stems from being bullied. It's the aggression. It's the people looking at you. It's and you want to get it over with. It's a really weird way the mind works. But so I did like 9 fights, 9 knockouts, all in the 1st round except one. And then I lost the fight, which I shouldn't have taken because I was drunk when I said yes, which I don't even remember. I didn't train for 3.5 years until they called me and they say, "Hey, where do we send the posters to?" I go, "What poster?" "From the fight." I say, "Who's fighting?" He goes, "You." I said, "Who am I fighting?" He says, "Frank Lotman." I go, "The Animal." That's his nickname.
Yeah.
He goes, "Yeah." I said, "When did I say that?" They said, "New Year's Eve." And I started thinking, I go, "Oh man, yeah." Geez. So I was a man of my word. Yeah, idiot. I should have never done that because that guy was bizarre over 100 matches. I mean, freaking 96 knockouts. I mean, it was, but so I lost that fight.
Yeah.
And then everybody spit me out.
Was that your first loss, that one?
That was my first loss, yeah.
Yeah.
But I had 2.5 weeks to train after 3.5 years of being a bouncer.
Yeah.
So, and if the club closes at 5 a.m., well, then we go to the after party. So, as well as I do, to stay awake, there's drugs, there's alcohol, there's women, everything bad goes at those places.
Yeah.
So I was absolutely not in shape. I couldn't even skip rope the first 3-4 days because I would run out of gas. That's how bad it was. So I should have taken the fight, but hey, I thought since I knocked everybody else out, well, I'm going to take care of pride. Pride will mess up everything.
Yeah, yeah.
Another match also, I had to stop that match. I was physically, there's a whole big story. Don't even want to go into it. Doesn't matter. Then I fought another match where the whole audience started fighting because I brought a whole bunch of my bouncer friends and he brought all his friends and the Hells Angels were there and everybody's watching. And I was the main event. And this guy, I just beat the crap out of him in the first round. The second round, I continued. And then in the clinch, it was Thai boxing. He started biting my ear. And I scream at him, but he had to let go, let go, let go. And you see me loading up a knee. And I knee him full in the pills. He goes down. I hit him in the head. Referee pulls me off. Everybody starts fighting. The whole audience goes crazy. Somebody threw in a chair. I always laugh about this, like a plastic chair, and it landed on the back of my coach. And
Jeez.
somehow the chair landed behind me on all four legs. And while
Wow.
everybody's fighting, there's a video of this. You see me, I noticed the chair, so I sit down in the chair while in the middle of the ring and everybody's fighting. It's
Wow.
hilarious. Then the referee came over and said, "Why would you do that?" I go, "He bit my ear, dude." And he looked and he said, and he grabbed the microphone. He says, "Guys, he bit straight through. It's a clean hole through. He's not the guy who was wrong." So then everything calmed down.
Yeah.
And it was okay. So then
Jeez. This is like the Wild Wild West. This is crazy.
It was crazy.
Yeah.
So I you know, the heat that I got from the people and saying I was not a good fighter, and it hurt me, you know. And then suddenly I started doing these martial arts shows. We would do with sticks and nunchucks and break tests and spinning kicks and all that stuff. We do the high choreographed fight scenes. And it started in nightclubs. Like in the midnight, the light would go down, the dance floor needed to be open. And then we came up with some backflips and somersaults, and then we had this whole in spandex and pumped up bodies. And then we do these crazy fight scenes. And that became a hit. It was really weird that we started doing it at big events.
Where was this that you're doing these shows? Where was this happening that you're doing like these?
Holland. Oh, this
is all in Holland.
We started traveling. We did Dutch TV, European TV, Eurosport, you know, and then we started adding humor to it. And as soon as we started adding humor to it, it became this freaking great thing, you know. And now I was everywhere. And then one of these shows, because I would come up with backflips and the somersault, and that's how we would walk in. And then we start, right? I would kick him in the belly. He grabbed my foot, throw me back, and I would make a somersault flying backwards, kicking him in the face. Like, we did some cool stuff.
Yeah.
And one of the Chris Dolman is the godfather of MMA, so to say. He was an older guy, very known guy in Holland. He said, "Hey man," he stopped me. He goes, "I remember you from Thai boxing. You were an animal. Now I see you all doing these crazy moves. I think you will be really good for free fighting." I go, "What's that?" "That's a new sport." This is 92.
Okay.
Free fighting. Yeah, I can do anything, choking arm bars. I go, "Oh, that sounds cool." No. So I went one time to his class, got destroyed by these guys. I'd literally parked my car next to the freeway, called my wife on one of those first cell phones that we had. I said, "I'm in the car sleeping." I said, "I cannot drive. I'm done." I said, "I'm going to sleep a couple hours and I come back." And the next day I remember she was laughing. She goes, "Oh, so that was your free fight adventure?" I go, no, that's not it. I say, "You what, 6 months? I'm going to clean that whole school out." Because now I had the buck. I wanted it. And then, you know, nothing happened. I got an injury, and suddenly there was a telephone call. And that was in September, in 93. And they told me, he says, "That's the guy, Chris Dolman, says, jump in your car right now. Come to Amsterdam," which is like a 2.5 hour drive for me, from all the way from the south of Holland to the north. There's a new organization, Pancras, and they're looking for fighters. And I think you're really good for this. You got to come and do a tryout. So I got. But
before you got that invite to kind of go to that next level, the Pancras, was there a time where I don't know if you went to school or not, but was there a time where it was like, all right, you know, the fighting thing, doing the shows, like, this may not work out. I'm going to have to find a plan B, or kind of grow up and get a real job in the world. Like, did you ever have that moment where you could have gone, you know, one of two routes?
You know, I did a lot of budgets. I'm a chef, you know, I'm a culinary chef. I went 4 years to culinary school. So that was my original profession. And then I became a model, believe it or not. There was at the time when there was the guys to come up. Okay. And I had that model agency was run by 3 ladies who really liked me. So I was working 3 days a week. It was really good money. But then, you know, once you start showing up at Shiners, they don't really like that if you have a photo shoot.
A big black eye.
So lost that job. And then, you know, and then suddenly the free fighting came there, and I was doing the tryout. And one of his guys, who was a champion in Japan, he went really hard with me. And I go, "Dude, calm down. We just need they just want to see technique. There's no need to try to knock each other out." And I think he thought I was afraid, I guess, because he turned it up. So I stopped him again. I go, "Dude, I'm okay with this, but it's not going to be one-way traffic. You understand that, right?" So now, of course, it was a fight. But I sent him to a nice high kick knockout. He went down. He had a bunch of stitches. And that was it. The 2 coaches, they were pointing at me. And I said, "We want him." And September 93, September 21st, 1993 is my very first time I went on a plane. A 13-hour plane ride all the way to Japan.
Yeah.
and boom, everything started. It's
Wow.
really weird.
It was Japan. Is that like kind of where it all started for the MMA world? Because it seems like a lot of guys got their start over there, and then eventually, it kind of caught fire, back here in the States.
Yeah, I was fighting in the first event, and the main event was Ken Shamrock. And Ken
Okay.
Shamrock was telling me before we were talking, and he said, "Man, I'm going to do this thing in 2 months. It's called the Ultimate Fighting Championship." Go is it? He says it's a cage fight. There's no referees. You just go in, they lock the door, and then you just go to town. I go, oof, that sounds not good. He says, "You don't want to do it?" I said, "Not a referee there." I said, "No, I would not like to do that." He says, "Why not? You're afraid." I go, "Well, if I get knocked out and you have a psychopath who jumps on top of you and he gives you like 6, 7 more punches, that's asking for brain damage. If there's a referee to pull him off, sign me up. But until that happens, I would never want to do that. I kind of love my life.
Exactly.
I have a daughter. But then, Big John McCarthy was the referee after the second show in the UFC. He said, "Listen, if I can't step in, I'm going to stop because someone's going to die. This is too crazy."
Yeah.
I mean, we had this guy fell on his knees, got kicked in the face, teeth are flying next to the commentators. I mean, that was the first event. It was like freaking bizarre.
Was Dana White, was he involved at this time, or that came about
No,
later?
that was Bob Marowitz. He was the first guy who started it.
Okay.
And so, but then once they had the referee, now of course I wanted to fight in the UFC as well. But I was focused on Japan. I was doing really well over there and honing my skills, to go to the UFC.
That's awesome. And was there a time, I ask a lot of athletes that I've had on the show this, because it seems like there's always that point in your career where it's like, man, if I just had known then what I know now, and in particular in the way that we train and the way that we diet and things like that. I mean, even you see Tom Brady, has this whole TB12 method, and he talks about, hey, when I was coming out of Michigan, I was fat, I was drinking beers, and what could he have been at that stage in his 20s?
Yeah.
For you, you mentioned like when you were doing the shows and stuff, and you're bouncing, all hours of the night. Was there a time where you're like, I really need to get serious with my lifestyle to become a better fighter?
No, I've been always a loose cannon. I thought I would die early. I was always crazy, and so it was stupid. No foresight. I'm going to die anyway. Why would I? So it was really weird. I was very dumb, so to say. Like the traveling and the fighting really made me a different person now, meeting people and business wise, and everything started becoming of fighting. And the crazy thing, what happened was, like I just told you with the dojo fighting.
Yeah.
So I had no control in Thai boxing. So now I'm in Japan, and this is crazy, right? So I'm thinking the day before the fight, there is no weigh-ins. And I go, why is there no weigh-ins? It's weird, I mean, oh, well, I'm fighting a Japanese guy, and they're known for being honest, so I guess it's okay. So the next day, and then I thought, did we talk about a weight class? Now I have no clue. I don't even know the rules by now, right? So I thought we all go over that the day before.
Yeah, you're well prepared.
We're going to the event. Yeah. And this tall Japanese guy walks up to me and he introduces himself to me. And I go, "Oh, you're the promoter." And he goes, "No, I'm fighting you." I say, "You're fighting me tonight?" "Yeah." And I look at him and I go, "What's your weight?" And I think he said like a 228 or 235, something. It was like a 28-pound weight difference with me.
Yeah.
And I go, "That's weird." And then the promoter walked up and said, "Oh, so you're the promoter?" "Yeah." I go, "Is he not too heavy?" And he goes, No, we have no weight classes. Everybody fights everybody." I go, "Oh, great." So I tried to force a smile. I said, "That's awesome. I love it, how many rounds are we fighting?" He goes, "1 round." I go, "Great. How many minutes?" And he goes, 30. And I go, but again, I go, "Yeah, nice. I love it." I look at my manager. I go, "Shit, what is going on?" And I think that combined with the fact that the Japanese audience is completely quiet is the most eerie thing there is. Like you can hear people talk in the 5th row. I mean, it's that
Really?
quiet. Pin drop.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like a
When
golf
somebody
match.
knocks them out, go, "What?" I go crazy, and then it's quiet again. But I think that combined with the 30-minute fight, me realizing, wait a minute, if I don't drop this guy in the first minute and a half, I got 28 and a half minutes to go. So I got to relax. So I put these big R's on my hand with the marker, which stands for rustig. Coincidentally, starts with an R. Relax is the same thing in America.
Yeah.
Big R's on my hand. And the only thing that my corner would say was constantly, if I would get hit, I say, if somebody hits me, tell me to stay calm because I'm a hothead and I want to pay back, and I take my time, so you only hear them say, breathe. I never had a coach. I taught everything myself, by the way, as well. So that's why I always had a manager in the corner. I never had a coach in the corner, but that was their only instruction. Relax, relax, relax. And then suddenly a whole different world opened for me. That first fight, it was the most eerie thing. I was so in control. I heard everything. I heard Americans talk about on the first fight. Later, I told them what they were talking about. They were watching. And they go like, how can you hear? I said, I was so weird. Everything was so calm. Everything worked in sync. But I was in the dojo, that's what I was now in fighting. That was it. That was the
so like that way of being like a loose cannon, like you said, did that kind of go away, or was that still there? You had controlled it? Yeah, you moved on.
Yeah, if you see pictures from me in Thai boxing, every picture is this. My facial expressions. You see in Japan, it's this. There's no movement in my face. There's no emotions. Everything just worked. Yeah. It was like there is this moment. I always say this because it's a cool moment, and trust me, it's not. I didn't plan this. This was just it happened, and I have no clue how it is. So what happened? The guy starts, and then right away I realized, okay, a high kick with a cross. So I give him a high kick, put my foot back, and as soon as my foot landed, bam! I hit him in the face. And he goes down. That's like first 15 seconds. So now the guy's down, and my mind tells me, because there was 8 counts in Japan. Now, normally, what you want to do, you want to run to your corner, because it's the moment you're in the corner, that's when they start counting, right? Okay. So if you go a long time back to your corner, you give him more rest. So most of the fighters, you see him hurrying to the corner. Yep. But something in me told me not to do that. And there's 2 voices talking. It's really weird. And the one said, no, let's do intimidation. So the guy goes down, but I see he's looking at me. So I'm just walking over to him, and I look at him, and I give it the 2-3 beats, and then I turn around and I start walking very slowly back to my corner. So the one voice is telling me, go fast, 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 fast. And the other guy, stay calm, stay calm, stay calm. Because that voice that was talking, he thought it was way more intimidating for that person to see me like, oh, he's going to take all the time you need. I'm going to drop you again. So I tried to do the reverse cycle. Nothing planned. That was just happening. It was the most insane thing. And then I stopped him also. Really, it was too hard. It was scary. It was 2 days gone. In the hospital. Like, I told my wife, I said, if he's not going to come out, this is it. I don't want to do this anymore. He's a really nice guy. He actually became a good friend of mine. Later on, Aji is his name, Yanagisawa, but that was hard to pronounce, so everybody calls him Aji. But that was it. It changed me from the crazy fighter. Suddenly, I was in complete control. Yeah, and that was it. It was
and really so, weird. Bas, what role does fear play in all this? Because at the outset, this first maybe half or so of your career, you said you're a loose cannon. Then all of a sudden, you find a way to get in control and to remember to relax and breathe, like you said. Now maybe you're thinking a little bit more.
Yep.
Did you ever go in afraid, either when you just went crazy and wanted to kill them, or when you said, let me take a beat and think things out? Did fear ever enter your mind? Like, how did that play out?
Also, another thing, it was the wildest thing. It's like, the bell goes, and it goes, and I'm in this bubble, I'm saying, and I'm allowing what comes into the bubble. Mm-hmm. So all the noise I can shatter out, but I listen to, especially if it's an American corner, I listen to their instructions, what they gave to him. And I'm tuning in, and I make these weird things. I started talking to my corner, the Dutch corner, in English. And I talked to English in him because I would say the dumbest things. I would say suddenly, I lay on the guy, boom, on top, and I look at my corner, I say, hey, tonight, you want to go to a Gas Panic again, or you want to go to Motown? Those are 2 bars. They're famous in Japan. And he goes, what do you mean? I say, Motown wasn't really that nice last time. I said, I'll get back to you a little bit later. And I would continue. I thought those things would really mess with the opponent, because he goes like, what the heck is this guy doing? He's talking about his going out tonight and drinking while he's fighting me. So I tried to do all these little things to just throw him off. Yeah. And to see if I can disturb him a little bit, so they're not thinking about only fighting him anymore. They're also going like, what's going on? Which I can use to my advantage, you see? So, but all these things, like I said, I didn't plan. This is not me. I planned everything out. It just happened. It was the wildest thing. Really cool feeling. That's what I missed the most, actually, about fighting, because the control, I wish that I had the control in everything else in life like I had in fighting. I'm still trying to find that, like auditions. If I have to go to a movie audition, it's so nerve-wracking to me because it's a minute, 45 seconds, and everything depends on that one thing.
Yeah.
You know, and it's a lot of pressure. Now in fighting, I had no problem with that.
Yeah.
But I wish I could control that as well in other things, in other areas. But I'm still trying to figure out how to do
It's a
that.
lifelong journey. And to
Yeah.
that point, I mean, can you take some of the things that you learned in the ring or in the octagon to what you're doing now as a businessman or an actor and just in life in general? Or do you struggle with that? Is it like just two different worlds that can't ever mix?
No, everything goes hand in hand. I always tell people everything is preparation, right? Well, I've been used to fight and work out really freaking hard. Even injuries, you have to work around the injuries. You find ways that you can still work out. And my pushing is the way to get good. So once I stopped fighting, it was for me easy to be commentating and all that stuff because I would just put the work in. You know, the best medicine to stay calm, or to take a lot of nerves away, is to make sure you're 100% prepared.
Yeah.
Like in fighting, if you go to a fight and you know that you can only fight 10 minutes in a 30-minute fight, yeah, you're going to have insecurities in your mind. If you know you can just go, that takes a big steam of nerves off.
Yeah.
And that's the same in acting, you know. And I don't have a photographic memory like some of my friends have. They read something 2-3 times, they got it. You know, they're really great actors. I have to hammer it in. But you give me 2 days, oh, it's in there. And once it's in there, you know, because again, I'm obsessive compulsive, like the 4 hours in front of the mirror, you know, if I get a script, I need to know it today. If it's not today, it's going to be tomorrow, like that. You know, and then rehearse, and that takes the nerves away.
Where does, along those lines, I mean, where does your gut come into play as far as saying, you know what, I'm just going to show up and I don't want to say wing it, but I'm just going to go with my feel, versus sometimes I think folks, especially in business, they can work so hard and want to be so perfect that they end up getting like stuck in their own head and they have this like paralysis by analysis.
Yeah.
Do you think there's kind of like a medium there, or are there just some domains where you say I'm going to be the hardest worker in the room, and others where you say, you know what, I'm just going to be me and see what happens?
Yeah, that's good that you touch on that. Yeah, because I never thought about that. Which and I think I automatically did it. You see, I'm doing things without knowing. There's a bunch of stuff that will come up also. Like for instance, I never game planned. I never watch their fights.
Like another fighter,
and
you didn't scout
no,
them?
because if I would. Yeah, because he can change his game, right? You never know. Sometimes I would look like his very first fight, then his fifth fight, and maybe his last fight. And the things that he's been doing since he started fighting, those are things you can use. But if he had a spinning hook kick knockout to the head in his last fight, that doesn't mean that he's going to land that thing again. So, you know, I just stayed away from that. You see, so I don't think I ever overthought it because, yes, if he just knocked somebody out with a spinning kick to the head, that might be going in my head, and maybe I'm going to be afraid of it. And you know as well as I do, if you're afraid of something, most of the time it's going to happen, right? That's how it works. But I always was very easy. I said, no, I didn't game plan. I swear this. I didn't even know if my opponent would be a southpaw or not, left-handed or not. So if he would show up and he's left-handed, I never thought, oh shit, he's left-handed. Never thought, just deal with it. You see, so maybe that was the reason for me to not get into that mode that you were talking about.
Yeah. Interesting. That's really interesting. Did you ever play other sports, or was it always MMA?
No, I was actually pretty good at the track and field also. I was going to become the next, the Dutch Bruce Jenner. I wanted to be the decathlon guy. Yeah, gold medalist in 76, I think. Right? He was a freaking animal, you know.
Yeah.
And I was good. My high jump, long jump, a discus spear, a shot put. I was good. You know, I mean, my high jump was, what was it? It was 6'10", I think, when I was 17. So
wow.
Yeah, a long jump. So, but this is so weird. My tendons are so affected by all the cortisones that I took. That's what we found out later. Because as a sick kid, I was overloaded with cortisones. I took 45 pills a day, I remember that, 15 3 times a day.
Wow. And
now they didn't know the long-term effects from corticosteroids, you know, and it affects your tendons. And it started early already with high jump. Like if I would go for a high jump, my first jump was like 6 feet.
Yeah.
That's my first jump because I could only jump 3 or 4 times. And then my tendons and my knees would hurt so bad that I couldn't jump anymore. So I had only like 3 or 4 jumps. And that became more and more and more. And then I had to stop that.
Yeah.
Somehow, maybe the break in between until I started fighting healed it in such a way that I was able to still pull off a career in fighting. But eventually, in fighting, what my career stopped was exactly that again. It was this time in my arms. It becomes so painful. People have no clue when they talk about pain. Like the tendonitis would hit in my arms. It was a really weird thing. If I would hit a bag really hard, I would feel like really, and I go, oh shit, here we go. And then I had 45 minutes, and 45 minutes the pain would start. And freaking intense, like it's coming from the inside out. There's no pills you can take. I mean, you got to fight. There's not like lots of painkillers in there, which, by the way, they don't have them in Holland, like all the crap that they have here. So that eventually that stopped my career, because if that would happen, let's say 2 weeks before a fight, that would mean that every workout, 10 workouts a week, I would have 45 minutes to train, and I would be in pain for an hour and a half, 2 hours, like bizarre pain. I would lose weight because I couldn't eat from the pain. That's how painful it was. So that took the whole pleasure out of fighting, and that's why I had to retire.
Yeah. And when you retired, I mean, did that subside, or is this something that you're stuck with forever, that just in daily life, it can creep up and bother you?
No, it stopped. It stopped. It was so crazy because I once you stop something that gives you a really good feel, like if you have 15,000 people, you knock somebody out and people go crazy. Trust me, it's a really good feeling. You knock somebody out, or you choke somebody, whatever it is. And suddenly that gets taken away from you. And also what I really enjoyed, because I have ADD, and the only time my mind is completely calm is either I'm sparring or working out really hard or fighting. And now suddenly I couldn't do it anymore. Yes, I could still do it in fight in sparring, but there was no goal anymore. So I started drinking, doing drugs. There's a lot of athletes, a lot of people who were at the peak, and then they stop, they fall in that trap. They try to replace that feeling with something else, and most of the time it's drugs and alcohol. So, and that went bizarre. And I'm all happy drunk. It's not like I'm walking screaming at the kids. I'm dancing with the kids, but still, you're not a father, you're not a husband, you're not a man, right? A man is in control of himself.
Yeah.
So then in 2006, after 7 years not competing, they asked me if I wanted to fight again. I said, let me work out 2 days, see how I feel. And my body felt great. I said yes to the fight. And my wife goes, what are you doing? I go, honey, I can't drink. If I take this fight, it's going to force me to stop drinking. So that's why I took the fight. Sure, the money was nice as well, because it was my biggest payday, because when I was fighting, it was the UFC, I made $55,000 in the UFC, which at the time, a tournament, 3 fights in one night was $60,000. So for me, that was really good money. I was one of the highest paid guys at that time. Yeah. But nowadays, it's like, this is a drop in the bucket.
It's nothing. Yeah.
But the comeback in 2006 was 225. And I wanted a pool. I wanted to move to a different house in our neighborhood with a pool. So I took the fight, but the main reason was to stop drinking. And that worked. I did it. I stopped the drinking. And then,
I mean, after you found that new purpose to train for a goal for that fight, that got you to stop drinking and everything. Once that was done, was that urge there again, or
no? Because somehow I can do mistakes. Yeah. But the tendonitis did come back, and a whole bunch of more. It was God telling me, this is it, dude. You're not going to fight anymore. Let's take it away, which I hated at the time, but now I'm loving it. You see, everything, I'm a very big believer. So it's everything happens for a reason. Yeah. And if you look at my record, people always go like, my God, you were so smart, man. You stopped where you were on top. I didn't lose in my last 22 fights. Wow. That's a great way to stop.
I'd say so.
Yeah, but I told him, I said, listen, that was not me. That was literally the Lord saying, hey, here you have some injuries, because I would have been that knucklehead. I would have kept on fighting, and eventually you are going to lose, because if you're over 40 years old, you have guys who started training at 6 now.
Yeah.
Right?
It's crazy.
Focusing only on MMA, I thought it was mixed. You still had to figure things out. Not anymore. Yeah. It's a sport. It's a martial art by itself. So yeah, I think it was perfect that I got the injuries, because that left me with a really nice record.
Yeah. Like you said, I guess everything happens for a reason. And now we fast forward, you mentioned you're 58, you're still in tip top shape. How do you train now? Like, what have you had to give up? How have you had to adapt? What are you doing nowadays?
Nowadays, I just work out. I had 4 neck surgeries, which didn't come from fighting, what people believe. It's a fight scene in movies, in a TV show, actually. I dropped upside down on my head. Not that high, but, when your whole body, 210 pounds, comes down on your head. Yeah. And then my arm started slinking. I go, what's going on? And then I didn't use the arm because it was hurting my shoulder until I had to do an autograph session in Boston for the UFC. And I couldn't travel because it was so much pain. So I went to the doctor and said, can you put a freaking cortisone shot in here? Because I don't want to travel like this. So he did. But now the pain was gone. And because of that, I tried to use my arm. And then I realized I had no power in my arm. I couldn't lift my carry-on. I couldn't hold a glass. You know, it would just keep standing. I go, what's going on? And I saw my arm slinking, going down. I go, is my arm getting, look at this. It's really weird. And it was my nerves. But now we're 4 months in, you know, which is really bad for your nerves, because if you don't help the nerves right away to free it up, well, it's permanent damage. So my arm here, well, if I can pull it up, you can tell. You see, it's the whole
Oh, wow.
see?
Yeah. Oh my
Yeah,
gosh.
this is just, but this was my whole arm. So I got a little bump back now. I didn't have that even. My triceps were gone, my shoulders. But after the 4th surgery, my triceps started coming back in my shoulders a little bit. But my biceps, I don't think it will ever fill out. But
Yeah.
that's what I'm working out in the gym pretty much every day. I walk on a treadmill, like a 30% incline.
Okay.
I do that at a pretty high pace because my knees, but I do it at a pace, but it's a 30% incline. I just walk 30 minutes, which is hard. And then I flip. I always walk backwards for 10 or 15 minutes as well. So you balance both muscles out from the leg.
Okay.
And that's it. So my maximum 45 minutes I work out, but my workouts are like, I do 12 exercises in about 35 minutes, and I do everything 20 repetitions. And they go like, how is that even possible? Because everything is supersets with me.
Okay.
I don't like waiting. I don't like sitting down waiting for the next set.
Yeah. It gets boring.
I'm pushing, I'm pulling, I'm pushing, and that constantly. You know, I'm go. Because train
keep
your
the heart
body
rate up.
keep the heart rate up and get your body known to throw out of a lot of energy in a short amount of time. Because if I need to fight on the street, which is 25 years ago, but you never know, right? You have a family, you want to be prepared. Well, that's the best way to prepare, I guess. You know, making sure that you can throw out a lot of power in a short amount of time and be ready for it.
Exactly. And now I want to ask you about, I mentioned in the introduction, amongst everything else, you are an inventor. You have a device that you created. It's the O2 Trainer. What exactly is that? And is that something that's recent, or that you kind of threw together way back when, for
this
yourself?
This was coming way back then. You know, this was when I was 14. I came up with the idea. Because what happened was I would be a week in bed with an asthma attack.
Mm-hmm.
And then if I would resume my track and field, needless to say, the 800, the 1500 meters, and the 400 meters were my worst because of my asthma.
Yeah.
But then I would always break my running times after I had an attack, a week in bed. I couldn't train for like the last 10 days. And then I had better shape. How was this even possible? And I saw a doctor. I went to a doctor. I spent a lot of time at the doctors, of course. I saw a drawing of a pair of lungs on the wall. And that's where I realized that your infection, you have no lung infection. It's not there. The infection is in the airways that go to the lungs. And on the post, it showed a healthy airway and it showed an infected airway. And I go, oh, I've been working out my lungs, because at the time I thought my lungs were doing the work. So unknowingly, I've been pulling in air for 7 days straight, 24/7. I made my lungs very strong. Then when the infection is gone, it's much easier for me to breathe. That's why I'm breaking these running times. Oh, why don't I come up with something that controls the air intake? And I start working with the washers. Let me see if I no, I don't. Like washers and bolts, those little things.
Yeah, the little
I would
circles.
put a washer in front of my teeth with a little tiny hole, and I would try to breathe through that. And so I could control the air intake, so I could make my lungs stronger. That's what I thought it was. I'll go into that in a little bit. And but needless to say, that's a very dangerous thing to do, right? I mean, if it shoots in your lung and it bypasses one of those airways,
You're choking to death.
Out, you'll die on the spot, So there's nothing you can do. But many years later, about 12 years ago, I thought I should make that thing. Because everybody was telling me it was the routinizer. We called it in the beginning. And I made a prototype, and I started training with a prototype. Now, know that for everywhere I went in my life, I always had an inhaler with me. I need to. If I would sneeze violently, my lungs would close, have to open them up. If I take a 100-meter sprint and I stop 1-2 minutes later, and every asthma patient will tell you the same thing, you have to spray open your lungs. Every fight, every workout, every time I need to spray open my lungs before. Once it's open, I can go.
Yeah.
And 3 weeks in with the O2 Trainer, I didn't need my inhaler anymore. Whoa, okay. So now I sent it to my buddy in Holland who has asthma. And he called me back 8 days later. He goes, dude, I want to sell these things in Europe. I go, what do you mean? He said, my asthma is gone. I go, shit, me too. This is crazy. That's why I sent it to you. Man, we're up to something. And then we started training, but it's very hard. You come as a fighter, you come out with a product, they go, oh, so we're one of those guys. People, it's a simple looking device. It's an inspiratory muscle trainer, which has been around since the freaking gladiators. It's nothing new, but I just came up with a concept that I could use so I could bypass all the other patents that were out there.
Gotcha. Got it.
And then I started training with it, and it became stronger and stronger, but it was very hard to put it on the market.
Yeah.
Now, first for the people at home, because otherwise you have no clue what I'm talking about. First of all, breathing is the number one priority in the body. That's it. Food is next, water is next, then it's food and shelter, right? But the first one is breathing. It's very important. Then you find out that 95% of the people are breathing wrong. Google it. You cannot find any other test. It will say 95% because we all raise our shoulders when we breathe. We breathe perfect till we were like 5.5 years of age. But then, we see superheroes and we go to the doctor and we see abs, six packs, and women see that too. And you start thinking as a kid, wait a minute, if I keep breathing through my belly, they think I'm fat. So people start readjusting. You're also sitting down the whole day now in class. Yeah. You also have a belt, so that pushes that breath a little bit upwards. You go to the doctor, puts a stethoscope on your chest. You say, take a deep breath. Oh, this is where my lungs are. Your lungs are not here. Your lungs are here, below. The densest, most rich part of your lungs is actually at the bottom. But we all breathe like this. So 4 to 6 of these shoulder-raising breaths is the same as one diaphragmatic breath. Think about that. Let's take the lowest number, 4. 4 breaths like this is the same as doing one time with a diaphragmatic breath. Okay, wait a minute. So then if you see me in the fight, I was breathing wrong. You see me breathing like that. Now that is completely gone because now I started training my breathing muscles. And this is where it gets interesting. Your breathing muscles, because your lungs are just 2 bags. There's not a muscle in your lung. Mm-hmm. If you cannot expand your chest, you cannot breathe. That's it. You die. Now, chest expansion is done by your diaphragm and by your intercostals, which are the muscles in between your ribs. Your external intercostals are for opening up, and your internal intercostals are for squeezing the air out again. Now, I bought this thing here. This is, let's say it's the diaphragm. This is literally what the diaphragm almost looks like. It might be really big. It's really thin. It's 4 millimeters. It's a really thin muscle, but it's super strong. And it sits at the bottom of your rib cage. So the sides of this are attached to the lower part of your rib cage, all the way around. 360. And this is what the diaphragm does to expand your chest. Ploof. It drops down. Okay. And then from that angle, you go like, oh, what's that doing? Well, look from this angle. Poof. It expands.
Yeah, exactly.
And that expansion happens in the center of your body. And that together with your intercostals, that will open up your chest. Now, there's a vacuum between your body and your lungs, and that vacuum will actually open up your lungs for you. So I always tell people, because this screws your mind over, your chest doesn't expand because you put air in them. Your chest expands, and that is how you pull the air in. Yeah. And you go like, whoa, whoa, whoa. And we have 11 pounds of breathing muscles, 11 pounds, and we don't work those out. Okay, now let's take it a step further. How does your stamina increase? Yeah, boss, I train really hard. That's why it increases. Yeah, but what's the science behind it? Why would your stamina increase if you train really hard? Well, I have the answer for you. If you train a muscle over and over again, it becomes more efficient. And the word efficient kind of says it, right? It uses less oxygen. Thus, your stamina increases. And this happens with everything. Now I'm touching another one, metaborflex. Metaborflex is gassing, when you're gassing, right? Yep. You know what happens when you're gassing? And I always use this example. Imagine you're running a hill and you're sprinting and you start getting tired and suddenly, woof, it hits you. You start gassing. What that is at that moment is that your body starts regulating your blood flow. It takes all the oxygenated blood, it pulls it away from your legs. No, boss, that's not true. I'm running up. No, it does. Blood stealing. It's actually a medical term. You can look this up. Medical term. It steals the blood away that goes to your legs, and it sends it to the number one priority in your body, which are your breathing muscles, which you have 11 pounds of. Because if you don't breathe, you die. That's the number one priority. Yep. So that's gassing. Okay, wait a minute. So if I work out my breathing muscles with resistance, and that's what the O2 Trainer is,
it's like restricting. It's like restricting the airflow. Yeah. So it's almost making it harder to breathe. while
Oh,
you.
so if you update your breathing muscles and you strengthen them and they become more efficient, now instead of gassing here, you're going to gas there. You have way more stamina. Like every endurance athlete in the Olympics, they will use inspiratory muscle training.
Yeah,
All
it's
of
almost
them.
like the altitude trainers where they put the mask on and then they
But
train
high
on that.
altitude, you see, that thing doesn't work. People try to mimic that. High altitude is just less oxygen in the air. It doesn't give you any resistance. It's like you can train your breathing muscles by breathing if you want, right? But it's like getting a pump on a bicep curl without a weight. It's going to take you a lot of freaking reps in order to get a pump.
Yeah.
Now, what this does, this attacks the breathing muscles. So this is weight training for your breathing muscles. So now you suddenly start working out those 11 pounds of breathing muscles and they become efficient. And then you start delaying the effect. And that's why all these, even Usain Bolt, whatever, he runs freaking 9.5 seconds or whatever it is. First thing he does when he wakes up in the morning, comes out of his high altitude tent, and he does 30 repetitions with an inspiratory muscle trainer. And this is what an inspiratory muscle trainer is. It's a very basic concept, very simple. On one side, I have a flap. The flap opens up and I breathe out. So exhaling is complete without resistance, because if you combine both at the same time, not good for you. Separating, really good. But let's go into that in a little bit. When I breathe in, this one closes and will force you to breathe into this size. Now, that size, it comes with all these different resistance caps.
Gotcha. Yeah, it's like a whole set of dumbbells for your
that's it.
Your lungs. Yeah.
There's literally weight training for your breathing muscles, and those are all your dumbbells, all those little caps.
That's interesting.
Now, and then you start training with it. And like, for instance, I started with a hole of 4 millimeter. I did that in 2018, May. That's when I started daily doing it. So almost 5 years doing it every single day.
Okay.
I did that. You do 30 repetitions. I can show you in a bit what you have to do to attack the correct breathing muscles, because you have breathing muscles in your back as well. We have to attack those as well. So there's 2 exercises for them.
Yeah.
Once you start working those muscles out, everything started changing. So I did cap number 4, 30 repetitions. And the way to see if you get stronger is by timing your sessions. Well, 30 repetitions took me 3 minutes and 45 seconds. People can literally go on my Facebook page. They can go 5 years back and they see me with cap, what it says, cap 11, which is 4 millimeter. And it says my time. So now I started doing these breathing exercises. 2 years in, I look at my wife, I go, you know what? I'm going to put the old cap on. I just want to see how fast I can do it now. So it was 3 minutes and 45 seconds. And now I did it in 55 seconds. So I went 75% increase. So now my breathing is so much in control. And what breathing does for you, what people don't have an idea, is the wildest thing. It drops. So first of all, diaphragmatic breathing will stimulate the vagus nerve. The vagus nerve is the nerve that's it's involved in pretty much any physiological action in the human body. Breathing, hearing, all those muscles as well. Right? Yeah. So what the vagus nerve does is, once you start diaphragmatically breathing, and again, 95% of us are breathing wrong, but if you start using your diaphragm, it will stimulate the vagus nerve. And once the vagus nerve gets stimulated, it drops your heart rate, drops your blood pressure, and then in turn, it drops your cortisol level, so you get calm and relaxed. For anxiety, this is everything. PTSD, everything. Sleep apnea, adjusting to high altitude. Back problems, balance. I mean, I have on my website a list of published medical journals, asthma, COPD, cystic fibrosis, everything.
I'd believe it.
By medical science.
I believe it. I remember I saw, Hickson Gracie, of course, is probably, came to fame around the same time you did, a legend in jiu-jitsu, and then, of course, UFC and all that. But his book is called Breathe. And that's one of the things he said, that even right there with jiu-jitsu, one of the most important things he did was really learn how to breathe, which it just sounds so elementary. But then you see athletes at the highest level, you really go back to such basics to try and gain that edge.
Well, you look at the fighters, and they go back to the corner and they're breathing like this, they're completely breathing wrong.
Yeah.
You can increase your stamina so much more. And they all complain. They go like, there's some fighters out there that have really good stamina, right? Tony Ferguson is one of those guys who doesn't get tired. Well, look at him breathe. He goes back to the corner. There's no chest movement whatsoever. It's all belly breathing. He breathes correct. You can do this too. And forget about EPO and all this crazy stuff. Don't cheat. Don't do that. Start training your breathing muscles. Everybody can do this. If the highest endurance athletes on the planet are doing, why aren't you guys doing it? I don't understand people anymore.
Do you ever try and use that the device, almost like cross training, like while you're doing something else, whether it's sitting in a sauna, doing yoga, doing stretches, or do you do it just where you're strictly focusing on, the breath?
Well, I started out working out with the O2 Trainer. This is how I started it, right? And that cured me from my asthma.
Yeah.
But then I got in contact with a guy who used to train also Usain Bolt. And he said to me, he says, no, do only breathing exercises with it, because at that moment you're attacking only the breathing muscles and it's way more effective. That's what everybody does. So I started doing that. Then I got in contact with this breathing expert, Dr. Belisa Vredic. She's a world-renowned breathing expert. She trains every military, everybody. And I went to her office on Fifth Avenue in New York. And she said, okay, let me measure your chest expansion. So I knew what she was doing right away. So she measures me, exhale, inhale. She goes like this. She goes, no, not possible. Do it again. And then I do it again. And she goes, one moment. And she runs out. I go, what's going on? She comes back with another doctor. She says, if I don't bring him, he's not going to believe it. I go, what's going on? She goes, well, normally when somebody breaks a record with us, with chest expansion, it's like 1/8 of an inch, maybe a quarter. You almost went 2 inches more than everybody else. And then we found out it's because of the breathing muscle training. So then she put it in her book. And that's when people start believing me, like, oh, shit, it really works.
Yeah, that's so cool.
They'll start picking up.
I think it's starting to gain traction that people realize this is another part of the body that you could actually target and train. It was weird. I mean, my experience, and one of the reasons why I wanted to talk to you, when I was growing up, I had asthma, but it was allergy-induced asthma. And I used to have to get a couple shots a week, and I'd be out in the outfield playing baseball, just wheezing and sneezing like a maniac. And I don't know what it was, whether maybe it was that medication that we had started taking, but it was almost something I just outgrew. And I mean, I never would have thought like a mile when I was a kid felt like impossible.
Yeah.
Then after college, I was able to do marathons and an Ironman and things like that. And it just went away. I don't know if it was because of playing sports or just growing, but to have something like that to almost accelerate that progress. I mean, that's just so cool.
Well, I have allergy-induced asthma. Like if I would pet a dog in the early days, 20 minutes, I will be with the dog for 20 minutes. I will be in bed for a week the next day. So it was now I still have allergies, but my breathing muscles are so strong, even when it's clogged up, it pulls it straight through. It's way too strong.
Yeah. So did you ever do
super thick?
That's all. And you ever do hypoxic swimming? Did you ever come across that? It's like it was training I had read that the Navy SEALs use, and it's swimming, but you swim your distance or you do your sprint and you do it all underwater. So if you were going to swim, maybe one lap in the pool rather than your normal stroke, you would just sprint it, essentially hold your breath for that lap and then come back and then kind of try and catch your breath after that. But it was not easy, but I did notice, it helped when I was training. So that's really cool. I appreciate you sharing that with us, Bas. And, if just to kind of tie it all together, if I could just ask you a few questions here to kind of wrap the show up.
Yeah, take time.
So obviously my book just came out last month. It's called What Should I Do With My Money? And there's a theme that pervades the entire book called MICE, which stands for money, ideology, compromise, and ego. So these are essentially the 4 motives that we talk about throughout the book that are guiding economies. So I always like to ask folks, and I'd like to ask you, starting first with M for money, what does money mean to you?
You're talking to a guy who's completely into the faith right now. So I'm not a big money guy anymore. I would like to have money enough, so I don't have to worry about things. But all the stuff, like all the cars and Porsches and everything that I drove, I don't do that crap anymore. It's like, for me, it's such a waste. You think, listen, if I'm a freaking millionaire, millions of dollars, do it, do whatever you want. But if you're just, making money, you're still able to do it. There's so many ways that you can spend it better. So for me, money is just a security blanket. I just would like to have that, so that if God forbid I lose a job or something, I get sick, that I have enough money to support myself, the family. That's for me the goal. For me, it's not. I don't need to be super rich. I don't really don't mind.
Got it. And then that leads into that next motive, which is ideology. What's your ideology? What is that North Star that guides you?
The North Star for me, it's that trying to make people understand that they're breathing wrong. And it's very hard, because if you would have told me that when I was competing, you go like, idiot, I've been doing this since I came out of the womb. Don't tell me how to breathe. I know how to breathe. Yeah, but you're doing it wrong. Oh, you say you're doing it wrong. Well, 95% is doing it wrong. And the 5% who does it correctly, they probably had breathing classes. Otherwise, they don't do it. So to try that, to get the message out. If I'm screaming from my top, it's not just to sell this product. If there's a lot of products I promote and I don't get a cent for, but they just really help me, and I promote these people. Oh, you should do that, boss. Why not? It helped me. But you don't get money for it. Well, I don't need money for everything. It's a good product. If I would have did this thing and I wouldn't make any money of it, I would still tell all my freaking fighters, use inspiratory muscle training. Because if you read the data, what it's doing for you, you'll be insane not to do it. You see, so my goal, what I really am focused on, and thankfully people start understanding now that, yes, breathing is a really big thing, and especially for people, meditation, for everything. And again, meditation, breath, the word breath is the same as spirit, right? Spirit in Aramaic or in the Hebrew language or Latin is the same as breath. So it has a connection. Completely relaxed. If you have a sharpshooter, right? Long distance shooter, you think he'd reach chest breathing? No, diaphragmatic. No movement whatsoever. Anxiety takes down. The things it does, if you go on the website and you click on the tab Science, and there's the drop-down menu for published medical journals, you freak out. I mean, it's good for everything. And think about it. It's the number one priority in the body. We strengthen everything, right? We think about what we drink. We think about what we eat. But nobody cares about the first priority in the body.
Yeah, how you're actually breathing.
Oh,
it's
exactly.
True. It's true.
So yeah, that's what I'm really trying to goal to bring it out to the people, helping people with it. Yes, money is fine, but listen, I don't need to, like I said, have all this money. For me, it's like parents who write me with the kids with COPD and asthma, and they're unbelievable. It's working, and we have the highest ratings on Amazon also. It's just, so those things are for me very important, because it brings health to people. And a really nice thing with it is, hey, I make some bucks on the side as well. Yeah. But the priority for me, and this is real, this is not like me trying to be the good guy. No, I had asthma my entire life. I know there's people, but I had a weak and bad asthma. I know there's people out there who have it 365 days a year, what I had only for 1 week. They literally have to move to like Italy or Spain or the high altitude in order for their lungs. If you can give these people a little relief by that, dude, sign me up. The amount of emails that I wrote to parents before this thing was invented about, everybody would ask me, but the kids who had the same problem as me with eczema, if I say I wrote 150 emails, just targeted only for that, I really don't think that's it's a high number. I think that could be still a low number. So I'm always been busy with helping people. I always have enjoyed that. And the great thing is now it's my product. So yes, I do make some money on the side as well.
That's awesome. And then the third one, compromise. So compromise can mean a lot of different things. There's so much out there that's competing for our time and for our attention. What can you speak to that, to kind of balance what your day looks like, what you're willing to compromise, and then what you will not compromise on within your day and within your life?
Well, anything to reach the goal, right? You need to think outside the box. It's just very hard, because I've been doing this for quite some years now, and try to find a niche to get people understand that they are breathing wrong. So compromising is just the full focus on. You cannot be distracted by other things, which is a hard thing for me to do, because I'm also commentating. I have a punching device that I invented. I have other ideas that I want to still make as well that are really good ideas. So no, I think tunnel vision on a product, but only for a few hours a day, because otherwise it drives you insane. You should at least compromise that, and then make sure that you're always in the perfect shape, physically and mentally. If I work out every day and if I eat well and I do all the things right, my body functions at the highest level. So whatever problems are going to arise, I can deal with those much easier than when I was not in shape. Like these people tell me, yeah, you work out every day, you enjoy working out. I say, I hate it. You hate it? Yeah, I don't want to go to the workout, but it's just a habit. I'll do it because I need to. It's physically good for me. And I also know that if I go to the gym to work out my muscles, but I don't want to go, well, I'm not going to, if I still do it, I'm going to be not only physically stronger, but also mentally stronger, because now I'm doing things that you don't want to do. And that's the problem that we have in this society right now. Nobody wants to do this anymore. Like, for instance, now I'm doing the Exodus 90, right? It's a Catholic thing. It were 90 days. I'm going to pull it up so that I can read it up, because otherwise it's a lot. So in 90 days, you cannot do certain things. Let me see. Exodus. So you can only take cold, short showers for 90 days. You have to work out every day, get a full night's sleep, no alcohol, no desserts or sweets, no eating in between meals, no sodas or sweet drinks, no televisions, no movies, no televised sports, no video games, no non-essential purchases. You can only use your computer or your phone for your work. And you can only listen to music that lifts the soul. And then you have to practice 2 fasting days as well. You do that for 90 days, and you watch your what is it? Your Instagram, your Twitter, everything goes down 80%. I'm almost never on there anymore, because you realize you're wasting all that stupid time, all trying to get likes and trying to get this and trying this, and constantly ping, ping, ping. All my notifications are off. Only for a text message and for WhatsApp, that's it. Otherwise, nothing pops up on my phone. You need focus. What people also need to do is read the book Stolen Focus. Try to read that by Johan Hari. It talks about why we cannot focus anymore. And it's an eye-opener.
Yeah.
You know, and of course, it's the phone. And it's not the phone, it's the algorithms, right? They find ways. They have thousands of people working on keeping you on that stupid phone. And the longer you are on it, the better it is, because the more they can sell you. And we all are falling for it. Everybody's doing it. And they're wasting their time. And since I started doing the Exodus 90, which started 5 years ago, and we do it yearly, oh man, my life has become so much freer, because now I can watch TV. I can watch television 1 day a week. I can break one of the rules. If I want to smoke a cigar, I can do this on a Sunday. If I want to drink a glass of alcohol, well, I cannot smoke the cigar, but I can drink the glass. I cannot do both. You see, or if I want to watch a movie together with my wife, I can do that on Sundays. So
it's very clean living.
So much.
Yeah,
it's the best.
It's true. And then the last one. So again, the last motive in mice is ego. In ego, that can be pride. That's who you are. What role does pride and ego play in your life? How do you control your own ego?
It's the hardest thing to control. And especially if you're a fighter and you fight yourself in the ring, you know, it's me, 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 me. It's a very hard thing to stay away from. Ego, pride will always get you in trouble. In fighting, in everything. It's the guy who can tone it down, and just humility, right? Living in accordance with the truth. That's what humility means. It's not being weak, living in accordance with the truth. Just live in the freaking accordance with the truth. That's what you're doing. So egos need to be checked. Pride needs to be checked. If somebody tells you something, like for fighting in the past, don't tell me how to fight. Dude, I got 4 world titles. You're not going to tell me. And then I realized, whoa, stop doing that stupid stuff. Listen to them. Because sometimes, yes, the 80-90% they're wrong. But there's always this one guy who gives you a really good tip. Yep. So if you put your ego to the side and you still listen to them, then you can always decide if you want to use it or not. So but pride, and this is something I work on daily, and it's not because I'm saying here, oh, I got 4 world titles, I got 22 fights. It's not that. That's not it. It's holding the door open for somebody, and that person doesn't thank you, and you get aggravated. That's pride. Somebody backs up his car, and he doesn't see you, and you shout, and you get angry about it. That's pride. Bringing a coffee to everybody in your office, and one person doesn't thank you, and you get aggravated, that's pride. Guys cut you over the freeway, that's pride. It's all because you all think you're doing it to them, you know? But if somebody doesn't say hi back to you, there's going to be 1,000 reasons why they don't say hi back. Really bad morning. Maybe somebody passed away. Maybe somebody's very sick. I mean, you can go on and on and on.
Yeah.
But no, we were a pride in the past. But I would say, hey, how are you doing? And they would say anything back and say, I'm good. Thank you for asking. You see, that's pride.
Yeah.
Now, once you see those things, those little pride things, and you can scoop them away, which is a very hard thing to do, but I'm working on it really hard, and it's like 90% gone, I would say.
Yeah.
But I'm pretty sure something else will pop up. Oh man, your life becomes so much more enjoyable. You know, people screaming at you and then not saying anything back. How hard is that? And especially now with politics, you want to say something back? Don't.
Yeah.
It's not going to change them. It's not going to change you. It's not going to do anything good. You know what's good for you? Not to say anything. Let it go. because then you stay calm. You don't get caught up in all these freaking emotions. And that's why we see the riots. And that's all pride. Because all these people who tell you which party you should vote for, that's pride. Because apparently they know best. And you have to do what they want to do. Get rid of that freaking pride. And that's it. Pride is the number one. Every person in hell is proud. Think about that.
That's well said. I couldn't say it better myself. And so we always conclude with the lightning round. I'm going to ask you some rapid fire questions. You just tell me the first thing that comes to mind, and then we'll all get to know Bas Rutten a little bit better. Okay. So first up, this all began as a finance show. So I'd be remiss if I didn't ask you, what's the best investment you ever made?
You see, I've been very stupid. Well, buying a house, I would say that.
Really? Okay.
For as a physical thing, of course. For the other investment that I ever made, and this is true, this is not, I tried to smoosh up to my lady, my wife. That was the best investment. And I didn't have to invest anything but she will change me. She really did. If I would have had her, I would have been a crazy guy all over the place. She balanced me out. She predicted everything. She knew I was going to fight in Japan. It was the year before it started. She predicted we were going to America. I was going to be in the TV business. I had a show for 9 years on TV. She all said that like years ago. I mean, 94. She was talking about.
So your house and your wife.
It's very important. Yeah.
Perfect. And then on the flip side, the worst investment, if you could think of one.
Oh man, that's a hard one. A worst investment.
If you can't think of any, that's a good problem.
That's a good thing, because I learned. It's like, that's why I don't gamble. That's why I don't do these things, because those are bad things to do. And if I see something that might not be good, I don't like to gamble my money, so I don't go all the way in with that. I'd rather keep it in the bank for something that might happen.
Okay. And do you have a favorite movie?
Yeah, it's a hard one. I would go True Romance. It's the first movie I saw
True
with
Romance.
my wife. It's not a romantic movie. It's about it's a Tarantino movie. It's better than Pulp Fiction. A lot of people, everybody is in it. Val Kilmer, Brad Pitt. I mean, James Gandolfini. I mean, you name it. Dennis Hopper. Everybody's in that movie. It's a movie that blows you away. A lot of people go, "Oh, you're watching a chick flick?" I go, "Dude, what's that movie?" It's a badass movie.
I haven't seen that one yet. I'll check it out. And what's your favorite book?
A book. Oh, there's a bunch. A book that really changed me. The Greatest Salesman in the World from Og Mandino.
Yeah, that's a great one.
Yeah, takes 10 months to read though. Because it's about how to become the best salesman in the world. And then you have one paragraph. He gives his apprentice a box of scrolls with a secret in there. And you take out one scroll and you have to read. It's like a 5 or 7 minute read. You have to read it first thing when you wake up, and then during the day, and then before you go to sleep. And what you're realizing is that because you have to do it for 30 days, that after like 10, 12 days, you know the whole thing out of your head. It starts getting inside your head. And it's all these little things about ego and about pride and things you have to watch out for. And there's a bunch of those things that we already know, but we don't do it. And this was a great way for me. I saw Matthew McConaughey. He talked about that book. And I go, well, it's going to take 10 months. Well, might as well start now because, why not?
Yeah.
And it really helped me. I really like that book.
Yeah, that's a good one. And do you have a quote that you live by?
What did say? The best life hack of all is just put the work in and go train as hard as you can. Forbes magazine put that quote from me on their website. So it's the most basic one. Listen, it's about the person that keeps on going. If you want something and you lash onto it and you stick with it, it will happen. It's only when you see dark times come and you can't do it anymore, when people hook away from it, that is wrong. The example that I always use is Henry Winkler. I did a movie with him, The Fonz. Mm-hmm. And he went. I don't know what it was. I believe he came from the East Coast and he was at the West Coast. He was doing auditions, and he didn't want to do it anymore. He wanted to go back home. Yeah, because he was illiterate and he has problems with reading, and there's a lot of stuff, and he just didn't want to do it anymore. He was driving to the airport to go back home, and his management calls. He says, we have an audition for you. He says, no, I'm going to the airport. He says, I think you should do this audition. And that was happy days.
Wow.
And then he became the Fox.
Man.
If he wouldn't have done it. You see, and that's what I mean. He could have said no at that moment.
Yep.
But something in him told him to still do it. And he did. And there he is.
That's unbelievable. Yep. And there it is. The rest is history. And then last couple ones here. Obviously, you've traveled all over the world for movies, fighting, etc. What's your favorite destination or vacation?
You see, that's a hard one because I like France, Italy, Spain. But, we always had a really great time in Hawaii.
Hawaii, yep.
To Maui with the family. That was always
beautiful.
a really nice place to be. Yep.
Yep. That's where we did our honeymoon. I'd be right there with you, man. That's awesome. Yeah. And last question here. Did you have a childhood hero? And if so, who was it?
Yeah, Bruce Lee.
Bruce Lee.
He changed my life. That was everything. It was Bruce Jenner, also Bruce Jenner, Bruce Lee. But and then I had some fictional ones, of course. I was Spider-Man and Wolverine because I had a lot of comics because my uncle would send me all these comics, and since I was always by myself, because of my skin disease, I was reading a lot of Spider-Man, and Spider-Man was bullied, and Spider-Man, you see, so you make a connection with that. That's probably why I start swinging trees also. And Wolverine, who doesn't want to be Wolverine?
That's all. Yeah, he was one of my favorites for sure. Yeah. Well, Bas, this was awesome. I mean, I could talk to you all day. We had so much to take away from this conversation. So I really appreciate the time.
You're very welcome, my friend. Yep. Thank you so much for having me on. I loved it.
Yeah, my pleasure. And where can folks find you if they want to keep up with you and just get more Bas?
So Bas Rutten MMA on Twitter and on Instagram. And then Facebook is just Bas Rutten. YouTube is also just official Bas Rutten, actually, YouTube. But I have 3 more weeks to go on my Exodus 90. So you won't see me post a lot. If I post things, it's for selling things, because for business I can use my social media, but for the rest I don't. So and even after the 90 days, I'm not a big social media guy anymore. I don't see the point. To tell people, oh, I'm thinking about my next move. Who cares about my next move? Right?
Yeah.
So I just let it go, focus a little bit more on the family and myself.
Got it. Well, there's a lot of you out there, so I'm sure folks can find you. But everyone, thank you for tuning in to another episode of the Kuderna Podcast. I'm your host, Bryan Kuderna, and today we had the pleasure of speaking with the one and only Bas Rutten. We will see you next time.
This podcast is intended for the general public and for informational purposes only. The show does not provide any recommendations or investment advice regarding any specific account type, service, strategy, or product, or to otherwise act in any fiduciary or other capacity. Please contact a financial professional for guidance and information that is specific to your situation. Bryan Kuderna does not provide tax or legal advice. Please contact your accountant or legal advisor to discuss your situation. Guest speakers and their firms are not affiliated with or endorsed by Park Avenue Securities, Guardian, or Kuderna Financial Team, and opinions stated are their own. All investments contain risk and may lose value. Past performance is not a guarantee of future results. References to specific securities, asset classes, and financial markets are for illustrative purposes only and do not constitute a solicitation, offer, or recommendation to purchase or sell a security. Bryan Kuderna is a registered representative and financial advisor of Park Avenue Securities, LLC, PAS. OSJ 300 Broadacres Drive, Suite 175, Bloomfield, New Jersey, 07003. Phone number 973-244-4420. Securities products and advisory services offered through PAS, member FINRA, SIPC. Financial representative of the Guardian Life Insurance Company of America, Guardian, New York, New York. PAS is a wholly owned subsidiary of Guardian. Kuderna Financial Team is not an affiliate or subsidiary of PAS or Guardian. California Insurance License Number 0K04194.